What's up, everybody? Tech Chucker here, and today we've got another action figure review for you. Today we're going to take a look at the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series K2SO. This figure is from the new Rogue One Star Wars movie coming up, I believe, in December. And this is actually really the only one that I really wanted to get out of this new wave. I'm not a huge Star Wars collector, but there are some figures and characters that I really like, and I really actually like this figure mostly because of the robot aesthetics. It just looks really cool. So I had to have it. Even better, I was able to price match it with a Toys R Us online deal at $9.99. So how can you go wrong with that? So let's go ahead and crack this guy open and take a closer look. And as usual, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the articulation first on this figure. And as I would expect, there are some issues with the articulation, but there's also some really, really cool things. And we're going to start with the head on this figure, if I can get him situated first. So his head is actually on a double ball peg, and because he's a robot and the design in the actual movie, this works really well. He can look down really, really far, which is awesome. He can't look up nearly as much as I think I would like, and as much as I would expect he could, but he's got good side-to-side motion in that head, and I can't complain with that side-to-side action. Now, the tilt is where you really are getting your money's worth. I mean, because of this long double ball peg, he's really able to tilt that head and his neck in a lot of cool poses or positions. So that is really, really cool. In his shoulders, he's got a ball hinge, and he's not quite able to get his shoulder out all the way, but that's okay. It's a robot. I expect some issues. He's got full rotation of that arm though, so there are no issues there. There's no bicep swivel aside from this elbow swivel at the top and at the bottom, or I guess at the top of the forearm. So he's got quite a bit of swivel there and just above the elbow. He's got a single hinge in the elbow, and then in the wrist he's got a hinge, and he's also got a peg joint, which allows for some really, really good articulation. Moving into the torso, he doesn't have super good backwards arch. You can see it doesn't go very far. He doesn't crunch forward very much at all, but he's a robot. Again, I don't expect much. He does have good rotation. It does kind of click and stick a little bit, at least on mine. It's kind of hard to get it back, but it's still pretty good. The hips are what are actually quite interesting, and we'll see if you can get a good close look in there. There's actually two pieces in these hips, and it's just a T-joint or a T-ball joint hip, but you can see that inner disc-like thing, it's a little bit softer, and it feels as though it sort of floats. I don't know exactly. I don't think it may just be flexible is all. I'm not sure, but you can see he's actually able to get a pretty good range of motion in his hips, especially for a robot. That's pretty darn impressive. And so his forward kick also is really quite good. He can get just barely over the 90-degree straight out kick, which is awesome, and he's got awesome backwards kick. That's really awesome. Most of our regular human figures don't have that. So, I mean, yeah, you're probably not going to be posing your droid like that, but you could if you wanted to. And there is also just a little bit of hip rotation. It's not our typical cut joint, but that's okay. He does have a single joint in his knee. There's also the peg joint at the top and bottom, just like on the elbows. Down in the ankles, he's got great range of motion in the ankles because of that hinge joint. That's essentially exactly the same as the elbow and knee, but he can kick forward, or he can move his ankle forward all the way, and then he has this hinge joint as a rocker, which mine are a little bit tight, but they work really, really well. So all in all, the articulation on this figure is really, really quite good. I'm very, very happy with how they did the articulation on this. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you just how well he can do with the I guess, hip splits and standing with his feet flat on the floor. If I can get this one. Like I said, these are a little bit tight, but they work really, really well. And you can see he does pretty good. Let's get these arms out. Let's get them fully extended out so you can get a good look at what he looks like at his fullest extension. That's pretty darn good, I have to say, especially for a droid. If only some of our human figures could move that much. Moving right along into the sculpt and paint of this figure, and Hasbro did a really, really nice job on this figure. Not only is he fun to pose, but he's fun to look at as well. And you can see, I mean, there's just so many cool details throughout this figure. But let's get started with the head. And I've watched the trailer of the Rogue One movie that's coming out, and this is actually a very good representation of that robot, the K2SO. But this head has some really nice detail work. I really like the neck. They did a great job, even with the paint. I like this flat black that they use for the whole base of it. And then these little spots of gray where you can see the battle-worn damage. It's throughout the figure. You can just see, and they're actually putting it in the right spots too, I feel. In spots where there would be wear, just in normal, use of this droid. I like the emblem on the shoulders that's painted well, but it's also got a little bit of wear. The chest here and the hips, and then moving into the back. They did some really nice paint work with these little accents that actually accent some of the sculpt work and the details. It's not much, but you know what? It makes a huge difference. And then these orange highlights around the hips. Those two are it's not super cleanly done, but it definitely looks really, really good, and it gives that battle-worn kind of old look to it. I just love the way that this looks. And we talked a little bit about these hip joints, and I'm still mesmerized. I don't know if mesmerized is the right word, but I'm still very intrigued in how they did that. Another thing that's cool is these knee and elbow and ankle joints are see-through. It's actually clear plastic, but it gives the illusion that there's nothing in there, and that's pretty cool too. And I haven't had any issues. Sometimes when they use the clear plastics, it's a little brittle. I have not had any of those issues as of yet. So overall, I'm really, really happy with this figure, but he is a very large figure. So let's go ahead and measure him out and take a look at just how tall he is. And he's very tall in the movie as well. So he stands just over 7 inches tall, almost a 7.25 inches tall, which is, pretty tall. I'm happy with that also, just because he's pretty tall in that movie, like I said. So he's about, let's say, just a hair over 18 centimeters, for those of you who are working in the metric system. We don't want to leave any of you guys out. So overall, I'm very happy. Here is Django next to him. Well, I guess he's in front of, maybe let's put him behind, right to the side. So he is very, very tall, and that is film accurate. I'm pretty stoked with that. Let's throw Captain Phasma in next to K2SO as well. I don't know if these two are ever together in the next movie. I doubt that they would be, since Rogue One is actually a prequel. So anyway, I don't know why I'm putting her next to this guy, but I did. Overall, very happy with the sculpt and the paintwork. There are no accessories. He doesn't come with anything, no guns, no nothing. And for $9.99, I'm not too disappointed. But I don't even know what else he would come with. Overall, this is a really, really solid figure. I like what Hasbro did with this figure. It's a great representation of what appears to be in the movie. So in that regard, it is a great addition to your Star Wars collection. I definitely recommend it. I think it's even worth the $19.99 retail price. I lucked out and paid $9.99. I was thinking about army building this particular one, but based on what the movie is kind of showing, I don't know that I'd need to actually army build this one because the actual K2SO that's in the film seems to be an individual character, and if I army built this one, it might kind of take away from that individual character that actually has been developed, it seems. So I've saved myself a little bit of money on that aspect, or that front. But it still is a really, really good figure. So if you're out and about and you happen to walk into the toy aisle, go ahead and pick this one up. You're not going to be disappointed. Alrighty, folks, I hope this was helpful. Make sure you hit like if it was. Hit that subscribe button as well so that you can get more reviews, more toy hunts, all sorts of other stuff. And until next time, I'll see you later.
Tetris Brain Blast.